everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about each of the zodiac sign, how they would be influenced by the Pisces full moon over the course of next 2 weeks. We have already gone into the detail of what the Pisces full moon will bring to the collective, both in the September lunation video where I went into a detail of it along with the geopolitical impact of it, and then in the weekly video also I have covered it. So take a look at that if you have not, just to take a overview of what's going to happen as a result of the Pisces full moon and what it means for us. Just few highlights before we go into each of the zodiac sign. This will bring back themes of 2015 in your life when the eclipses happened at this point, specifically March to November of 2015. If you would like to go back and relook at that part of your life, this is 28 degree of mutable sign. So at 28 degree of mutable sign, especially Pisces, there will be culmination, ending and release that will come with it. This is a harvest full moon. So new information which was hidden from us can also come to light, and with that will come conclusions and release, and we would be possibly creating something ethereal with this full moon over the course of next 2 weeks, which can be creative in nature, which can be spiritual in nature, which could be a product of our selfless love, which will grow in 2022 with Jupiter visiting these very degrees in May of 2022 and November of 2022. So this will be a key theme of 2022 for you as a part of your growth journey in 2022. And it will not just be part of your growth, this will be your contribution to the collective, especially to the collective healing that we will go through in 2022. So the creative breakthroughs, the epiphanies, the brilliance that you're having right now, that would come handy for the social evolution as well as the collective healing that will come about in 2022, especially with the Jupiter-Pluto sextile, which will happen in May of 2022. So look at the imagination, fantasy, creativity that you are exuding over the course of next 2 weeks and how to give physical form to that, because Pluto in 2022 will help you not just make a formal structure of that, a physical career or sort of a physical setup to it. It will also add influence, wealth and gainfulness to it. So that's what we are working with. Look at your rising sign, that is most accurate, and then followed by sun or moon sign. Sun sign I've seen most people definitely know accurately. That's why I always suggest to look at sun sign. The rising is most accurate to know. Moon sign is more relevant from a personal life perspective or emotional life perspective, but the combined effect of all three of them will tell you what are the themes for the next 2 weeks for you, all the way till 6th of October. My name is Charu. I'm your host on this journey. Let's dig in. Hi Scorpios, the full moon of 21st of September, which will influence us till 6th of October, is happening in a very positive part of your chart, and it is in positive aspect with you. It brings to focus love, creativity, matters of heart, children, joy, hobbies, as well as all the things that bring us closer to our natural gifts. The next 2 weeks are supposed to be focused on bringing either a creative venture to pass or an extension of ourselves which has been worked with a lot of passion and love to pass. And it is the time to give birth to something that you're really passionate about. And it might come at a cost of something. It might be at the cost of giving up some amount of hindrance and boundaries you have to let that flow through you. It could be at the cost of removing boundaries with the loved ones, if any, that you have, and opening yourself up. It is the very definition of putting yourself out there, essentially, when it comes to merging with your loved ones, whether it is a partner, a soulmate, a child, an idealistic partner, or a partnership when it comes to a business venture that you're going into, which is an extension of your love, essentially, which you've been working on. This is the house of risk-taking. So there is some element of faith that we need to have in order to take a risk on ourselves, and our skill sets and our God-given, or whatever you believe in, higher power given gifts. Because these are the gifts that we have been given beyond what we have worked on. These are the gifts that we need to let flow through us. And with Neptune in the house of creativity since 2011, we have been gifted with the inspiration as well as the passion to give birth to something ethereal. This is the height of imagination. The imagination is on fire when Neptune is in our house of creativity, which we have been gifted with since 2011. It comes with its own set of issues, which I'll speak about. But largely having Neptune in your house of creativity is a gift. And it's a gift that most of the signs are not given because Neptune spends 14 years in a house. So there are very few zodiac signs who have the gift of Neptune in the house of love, in the house of creativity, in the house of good karma, in the house of children. And it does come with dependencies being created on you, especially from loved ones, because it essentially is the highest octave of love. And when Neptune, the planet which is the highest octave of love, sits in the house of love, we become love. We become the epitome of selfless love, and we are asked to channel that in form of what we create, in form of what we produce, whether it is a business venture, whether it is a risk we take in life in business, or whether it is a risk we take in our personal life in form of having children or doing things for our children or being involved with somebody. The search for the soul's connection with another, it is heightened with Neptune over here. And we look for manifesting an ideal which does not exist in reality. So it does come with its own set of dissatisfaction from reality, whatever is reality for you. Because with Neptune over here, we have to learn the art that the reality is what is real for you. The reality, as I mentioned before in my note, is not the universal reality. There's nothing called universal reality. So escape, what looks like escape from reality, which becomes very prominent with Neptune here, is you entering a different sphere of existence. You entering a very different, your soul entering a very different stage of progression, where what inspires you and what it becomes your passion is something ethereal, something nebulous, something that may not look practical to somebody outside, but it is as real as it gets for you. And the same holds true in love. The same holds true with children. The way we are with our loved ones, the way we are with our children would be very unique as compared to how the others are. And it's true for most of the people with Neptune over here. To an external person, we look permissive. We look like we are giving in too much when it comes to love, when it comes to children. And we do give in too much when Neptune is here. But Neptune is teaching us unconditional love. It is teaching us to not have boundaries when we are passionate about something, that we need to sort of give our inhibition and give in fully and remove those boundaries that exist between us and what we are creating, whether it's a child, whether it's a creative project, or whether it is a business of passion, whether it is love for another. We're supposed to learn the art of giving in fully, and that is where the full manifestation of our existence happens. That's where the best version of ourselves comes through, because we don't hinder and we don't try to create a plan for our existence. We let the divine plan pan out. And the more you try to control it, the more you try to say, I know better, the more we are proven wrong, and more that fake reality that we try to create, that we think, oh no, this is reality per the world, so I have to live that. The more we try to force that, the more events beyond our control come in, and they show us that you don't have control. And it's not to cause a loss to us when it comes to love. It's not here to make us dissatisfied in creativity, in love, in the risk that we are taking. It is to teach us that sometimes to walk on clouds, you have to not see down. You just have to walk. And Neptune over here is asking us to walk on clouds, to do the things that were seemingly impossible for us before this. And it would require us to put ourselves out there. The journey began in 2011 with Neptune entering this house for us. I'm a Scorpio rising myself. But in 2015, there could have been a step that was taken which seeded the shift in physical form. And now with this full moon, we get an opportunity to manifest it in physical form, to give birth to something that was possibly seeded in 2015. Sometimes a reality of a business venture, of a risk we took in personal life or business life, that comes to light, something that we were not seeing clearly, because where Neptune is, we have to have blind faith there. So we enter risks in business and in love with eyes closed, because we have to walk, as I said, to walk on clouds. Sometimes you have to just walk and not keep looking down. So the risks are not well calculated. They are thought out from a very different part of our brain, which is the sixth sense that we are developing about risk taking, and it will be a life skill that will come handy for you going forward, because it will become part of your future growth, especially next year when Jupiter comes in your house of creativity, growing the proceeds and the returns of the risks you have taken. But right now, in this moment, with this full moon, it is possible that there were certain risks we had taken, and we might be shown that some of them were not worth it. But the lessons that are learned from that will become part of your material growth in 2022, when Jupiter comes in your house of creativity, love, passion, desires, hobbies, and returns on risk-taking. That is the time when all the bets you have taken, they start giving returns. It is the, if I may say myself, it is the most luckiest of the transits of Jupiter coming in a house of positive karma. So things that give you joy, things that bring love to you, things that expand the opportunities of risk-taking and the returns on those risk-taking, especially in creative ventures, especially in love, especially even in business ventures, stock market. But you have to be careful. With Neptune over here, we tend to get very gambly. It becomes like an aspect of gambling sometimes in the stock market. As long as you are aware that the logic of risk-taking is still under development in your mind. Same holds true for your personal life as well as for your professional life. It doesn't mean that we don't take those risks. It just means that we are learning the intuition, and this will be your unique skill set for your zodiac sign, that we're learning the skill set to have the intuition about the right returns of the risk taken, whether it is in our personal life or it is in our professional life, or it is in creative ventures, or it is in investments, which might look like gambling to another, but there's another part of your brain that is working, which is the right side of our brain, which is the intuitive part of our brain, which is working to take decisions, and then it becomes a natural process to you because you've learned that skill set. And that skill set will become important for you next year also, because Pluto, the planet of power and transformation, it is in your house of self-expression. So from a self-expression perspective, if your creative venture, or especially if it is a verbal or a spoken project that you're working on, or a new skill set that Pluto has been haunting you that you need to create and develop the skill sets for, the flow of words, the self-expression for it requires you to let go a bondage. It requires you to let go a blockage. And that blockage only Neptune can remove. And you might be working on taking a risk, taking a bold step to finally remove that blockage from self-expression in the next 2 weeks. And you have to give yourself the chance to fall down and get back again, because it is the part of the process that is required for your self-expression to reach its highest power. With Pluto in our house of self-expression, the words that you write, the words that you speak, your communication, and your ability to change the mind of the people is at its peak. And Pluto is your ruler. Pluto is the very definition of power. Pluto equals power in our house of mind, thinking, imagination, words. Means that we have the power to create physical manifestation of what we think, the ideations that we have, the thought processes that we have, the words that we speak. And our self-expression has gone through major restructuring since Pluto entered here in 2008, and it is in positive aspect with us. It is asking us to give up anything that blocks those words coming out of you, those ideas becoming things, those words becoming written books or any other form of self-expression that you might be involved in right now. It also demands that you detox your immediate environment. So with Pluto in your house of immediate environment, communication, travel, you would have found that the people, especially your neighborhood and the people who you're surrounded with in your day-to-day work or your immediate neighborhood, has gone through major changes and transformation. And that happens because you are an influencer in some sense. You are trying to be the part of an evolutionary change, which your words would help bring about. And when you're part of that evolutionary change, you need that tribe around you, which has the same wavelength. So when Pluto goes inside our mind and it changes our thought process, the people who are around you, who you speak to on a daily basis, who you interact with, who you connect with, they have to change. So with Pluto, we have gone through this process of complete change in our daily environment, complete change in the contacts and the way we connect with each other, complete change in the personal style of communication and the part of the brain and thinking that we use. In fact, since 2017, when Saturn came in our house of mind, we have completely restructured our skill sets and our way of thinking. And now Pluto is saying, let's take this show on the road. Let's use what you have been given, use all of you and put it out there in form of a creation, which is your style of unique style of communication, which is your thoughts now put to paper, your thoughts put into any form of creative physical output. So 2022 will be the time when you'll have to generate that output, and Neptune's process of removing this blockage to risk-taking, blockage to putting you out there. That is a process that we have to do over the course of next 2 weeks. We have to remove anything that blocks us from taking that leap of faith when it comes to creativity, when it comes to love, when it comes to children. And all of these things, whether it is people we love selflessly, whether it is the soulmates that we seek, because the search for the soulmate becomes endless when Neptune is here, or it is the kind of highest form of imagination and fantasy that we look for in our creative ventures, all of them are gunning for one thing, which is to elevate your self-expression. And then Pluto will give you the conviction to create a physical output of it. And many of us have already gone through the process of trying to create the physical outcome and the physical outlet of it. Many of us have written the books, have done the skill set, have created the output of that self-expression, because Pluto is already at 24 degree. So most of us have gone through that process from a Scorpio sun perspective, right now Pluto is active around 16th of November. So all of the Scorpio born before 16th of November have gone through that process, and now 16th of November born Scorpio are going through that process. It takes 2 or 3 years for Pluto to go through every point in our chart, every degree in our chart, every thought in our mind, and restructure, rewire that thought process, because it says, oh, weak thought, remove, weak thought, remove, weak thought, remove. It goes through that process of substituting every weak thought we have in our mind with a stronger one, every weakness in our self-expression with a stronger one. And since it acts in that fashion, it has taken this process of going back and forth and recreating our brain, recreating our thinking process and self-expression. Even if you have created projects before this, books before this, and self-expression before this, when Jupiter comes in your house of self-expression next year, it would be the time to create the popularity for it, for making it reach larger set of people. It would also be the time when you'll have to expand the amount of risk you take in life further. Because when Jupiter comes in our house of risk-taking, we will have opportunities to take risk, whether it is in our personal life, which means that it can bring love affairs, it can bring opportunity to have children, it can expand something in the life of your children. And you'll see over the course of next 2 weeks a preview of that, of what are we moving towards. Because all that rethinking and rewiring that Pluto has done, it has to have a output. Pluto is in Capricorn. It is not a nebulous planet. It wants to create something out of the psychological changes it has done within us. And it wants us to have a physical output of the power of our mind and the restructuring of our mind and skill set that we have done since 2008. So the goal of this full moon right now would be to either deliver on a creative project, which you've been working on over the course of last 6 months, which can be very creative. It can be very private to you. It could almost feel like, to me, this feels very private, and putting it out there is for me to put myself out there. So it would require you to put yourself out there and lower your boundaries when it comes to doing something for something that you're passionate about, that's something that feels like your calling, and then merge with others without any boundaries when it comes to your creative output, when it comes to love, when it comes to children. And children become both a source of sensitivity, where they teach us compassion, love, more than anything else. Same holds for other loved ones in our life. But they also themselves are very sensitive with this transit. They themselves are a form of love in our life. So the people who come in our life, even if they come with their rough edges, ultimately Neptune in our house of love makes us also transform who they are, or attracts people who are in that place of learning selfless love. So the people who we attract in our life, they are themselves, if I may say, angelic or definition of selfless love. And even if they don't enter in with that, after they have left our life, or after they are done with this karma with us, they become the definition of selfless love as well. So in some ways, your cycle is not just about you. It's about the people and your loved ones coming in your life as well. We do go overboard emotionally with this aspect, whether it is love for children, or it is charity for children, or it is just indulging in emotions because something has to be created which is steeped in love. But that output is there to transform the thinking of many. That output is here to help and reform the minds of many. That output is here because you are here to be part of a revolutionary change when it comes to the way of thinking of mankind and humans are involved. When Pluto and Jupiter will combine together in May of 2022. That is an aspect of reformation of the collective, and our contribution to that has to be something very authentic, and you are in the process of creating that, whether it feels like you have to take a lot of risk for it or you have to lose a lot for it, because this is the kind of creation where we dissolve into our creation. So it almost feels like we are losing our identity when we are doing it. But you cannot stop it. You cannot control it. It almost feels out of your control, because this is the house of positive karma. This is a force beyond you, which is driving you to do what you need to do. And the more you try to focus away from it, more you try to force the practicality into it, the more it becomes impossible to control. But there's a balance to be had. Of course, there's a balance to be had. We are in Virgo season right now till Libra season begins. And when Virgo season, there's the other side of the axis, which we spoke about in the Virgo new moon video for you. The other side of the axis is how do we create the social media and the collective tribe to whom you share your message. How do we create a available format of what you're creating when it comes to your passions? How do we create gains out of what we are trying to create when it comes to creative ventures? So there is a balance to be had, and every time we have this kind of a full moon, every year we have this full moon. Every year we have this opportunity to find the balance. So the next 2 weeks are not just about getting flooded with the emotions and creating something which is completely fantastical and out of this world when it comes to creativity, but it's also the time to try to find the right balance between making your content accessible to large set of people, finding gains from the risks that you're taking, finding the right tribe to go with you when it comes to your ventures, and still retaining your uniqueness, your authenticity in terms of who you are. So finding that balance is also a key goal of the next 2 weeks with this full moon. This full moon happened at 28 degree of Pisces. So for you, this will especially impact if you have planets around 28 degree of Scorpio, which is around 20th of November born Scorpio sun. Pluto is turning direct on 6th of October. It's your ruler. It creates this depth of thought, and we see through things we did not see before. And it also helps you create a commercial outlet of a creative venture or a passion that you have. So you might be able to see through and find a way to monetize what you're creating as well, especially if you have planets around 24 degree of Scorpio, which is around 16th of November 1, and you should use the period from now to 6th of October to look towards that, because Pluto, while it was retrograde from April till now, it has been changing something within you when it comes to your thinking, when it comes to your thinking pattern, as well as on a mundane basis. How do I commercialize and communicate my messaging? So now is the time to take the show on the road, and the next 2 weeks will be imperative to find an outlet of the very high creative high that you're having, and what's inspirational, what's passionate within you. We need to externalize that. Externalizing the feelings in a grand way, in a fantastical way, in a romantic way is the best productive outcome of the transit you have right now, which is Neptune in your 5th house. But remember that we do take risks here, which we don't realize how much risk we are taking when you're taking it. And there is a divine reason for that. As I said, if you want to walk on clouds, you have to sometimes not look down. So we have to walk in clouds for some time. But now that Neptune is retrograde, in these 2 weeks, there might be some practical realities you might also see of what you did not see when it comes to your commercialization of your talents. So it's also the time to grow your spiritual ventures and your creative ventures and find their returns find a way to communicate and commercialize them in the ways that still retains your gifts, that still retains your perception and intuitional high that you have, that still retains the musical, dramatic, writing, performing, painting, whatever is your art or psychology. It still remains the God-gifted gifts you have and the uniqueness of them, while creating an outlet for it, which is commercial and physical in nature. It might mean that the way you communicate needs to change, or the channel you use for communication needs to be changed, or just our mindset about finally letting it flow and letting things come out of you rather than holding it all in needs to come. If something was given to you, a gift was given to you, it is almost unfair to the providence that you don't show them, that you don't come up with them, that you hold them in purely because of a fear within you. And that is something that Pluto has been trying to change within us since it started working on us since 2008. And that happens through complete rewiring of our mindset, which is coming to a conclusion in 2023, and we are ready to go live with it. So that's what I have for you, Scorpio. Hope it was helpful, and hope I see a beautiful outcome of this transit for you. I'll see you in the next video now. Thank you.